What a peaceful game. Perfect to discuss the eightfold path in the middle way. uh, so, in Buddhism, to the extent that I know of it, there are, I guess, these two very interrelated concepts, the eightfold path and the middle way. Now, the eightfold path is made up of these multiple qualities. It might surprise you to hear that there are 8 of them. And they are all balances of each other. They work in pairs. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into that and like sit here and necessarily read like some sort of passage. But the notion of balance is very important with what I want to just get off my chest today. Now, there's also the idea of the middle way, where I guess how I would summarize it is you don't want to be extremely self-indulgent, but you also don't want to be like completely destroying yourself. You know, to give some concrete examples, should they be necessary, you don't want to have a ton of dessert, but at the same time, you don't want to starve yourself. If you're familiar with the 7 sins, I think, in my opinion, the problem with the 7 sins is that it states something as bad, period. So pride, bad; gluttony, bad; greed, bad. But I guess the reality of it is you can't be too greedy. But in some way, we are human, right? These I don't want to go into the 7 sins too heavily, but they are qualities of being human. In theory, you can balance them, but the thing is, they don't have a counterpart. And so while it can be a really cool thematic idea, or even a great, in some sense, moral code to follow, I don't think it's right to completely avoid greed, completely avoid pride. If you completely avoided envy, first of all, I don't think that's possible unless you're completely flat affect. But also, if you completely, oh my god, there's different, I haven't played this game in a while. I need more money. Good to know. Anyway, I just don't think it's possible to completely avoid these sins. And you may argue, and that's fine, but this is not a conversation. You're listening to me talk. I'm surprised I'm in this kind of goofy mood. It's been a very weird day, so I'm glad I'm laughing at myself. My own crappy little jokes. Anyway, I have my own mental system, for lack of a better word. And I chose to follow something more aligned with the eightfold path. And namely, everything has a balance to it. And so there we go into what, as of now, I believe this video will be called, do we need to experience the extremes in order to find balance? And I think the answer might be yes. How do I, yeah, there we go. So I've been taking a few art classes recently, and they have stressed me out immensely. It's not necessarily the art itself, but I think just the notion of having homework again, and the amount of pressure that I put on my own shoulders in order to just forgot about that. The amount of pressure I put on my own shoulders just because I want to just be good at art for once is well, I tried to, but I don't have enough money. I'm just responding to the game's tips. And I guess in some sense, in the past I've talked about jiu-jitsu competitions, and art is giving me a similar obstacle in which I could run away from it, right? But I mean, first of all, there's no fun in that. It's not very interesting to run. But also, it's pushing me to learn so much about myself. I think programming hasn't, which is my current, career path, hasn't really given me the same challenges like this because I'm decently good at it. But also, it's in the context of a career, so the exchange and trade-off is very clear-cut. But even longer than I've wanted to make a game, I find that I've wanted to be good at art for an immensely long amount of time. I mean, I've always preferred art classes. I've had an inclination toward it. In some sense, who doesn't want to be better at drawing? I think most people I've ever met have this idea of, oh, I wish I could draw. Right? I mean, maybe I'm just projecting, but I think it's just kind of like everyone wants to be able to play an instrument. Everyone wants to be able to whatever. I don't know why I get so sniffly as soon as I start to talk. Like, what? Just muted myself for that one. That's crazy. I mean, I guess I know why, but anyway, I digress. And the thing is this... So today is Saturday, and last weekend was a pretty good weekend from as far as I remember. And the digital painting class I'm taking has been the most stressful because it's the most new, and I am just so clearly underleveled for that class. I mean, it's insane. I'm still learning so much, and I think the instructor is so cool. The information is actually changing the way I'm perceiving digital art just completely. I mean, it's my first attempt at it, but yeah. The thing I've found, discovered, whatever, is that I keep going back and forth in these extremes. So I think I've spoken about this, but my hour of game development every morning is still going, and I've completed one prototype. Boom, bang, done. It's released. And I'm starting work on the second. And I'm just, bit by bit, it's been 4 plus 7 is 11. 11 days, not even 2 weeks of this prototype. And I'm getting somewhere, I would argue. And the thing is, there's no result. I removed the requirement to finish this game in a month. And by doing that, I have proven to myself that consistency is the only momentum I ever... Did that big fish see the small fish? Ever need to really build. Again, there's no clear trade-off because there's no one's saying we're going to pay you for this. All right, it's not something that needs to be done. It's just, I would rather live a life where I have done this than live a life where I have not. That, at the end of the day, that's one way to phrase a lot of the way I think. Walleye, nice. The Pokemon Platinum rival, if he was a fish. So, anyway, these homeworks that I've had to do, lots revolve around digital painting, and I took it because the prototype I'm working on involves digital assets, and part of the goal is to make all the assets. And another class is dynamic figure sketching, and it's my favorite class I think I've taken to date for art in general. But there are just some factors that make it very stressful. And that's okay. But as soon as I start to look at this sense of oh my God, I have to do all these homework, and I try to optimize, and then I just procrastinate. And this is not a productivity talk today. But the point I'm kind of getting around to is that it's through these classes and art that I've been faced with this realization that, man, I haven't had this dilemma in a while. This dilemma of, I want to do this. Why am I not doing it? And I think that earlier this week was incredibly bad. But then I had the dynamic sketching class, and then the teacher said something, and something just kind of clicked. And I had a really calm Friday. And it's because I was just sitting down for an hour at night and working on the homework, doing artwork on the homework, and making progress, just like I was with the game. And I'm like, dang, like I've had the solution the whole time. But the thing is, I don't have that calm unless I have that stress. And I think that calm itself can't exist. Because if you're super stressed and you do things out of that stress, then that becomes your motive, right? That becomes your incentive to relieve the stress. I have to do this. But then procrastination kicks in and it's like, well, I might as well just wait until the final hour. But if you're totally calm, you might not get everything done. And let's just say we live in a world in which Mark's room is getting way too warm, so he's taking off his sweater. For some reason or another, you have to get this creative endeavor done. And I mean, I guess that's not hypothetical. That's in my world. I just say hypothetically because everyone's motivation is different. Like I said, to me, doing it is so much more preferred than not doing it. For games and art, it's the urge to tell a story that far outweighs going through life without having been able to tell my story, so to speak. I guess I really should save up for this in some sense. Oh, I can buy a new boat? Why do you have an exclamation point? Alrighty then. That was useless. So on one hand, I was like, these art classes are exposure therapy for me. I'm learning more. And I'm making sure that when I truly get incentive to tell my story, I will be able to push through. But there are some things to push through and some things to not. I think, and this is where the notion of balance comes in, where you have to feel both extremes. I think you have to know what the stress feels like in order to know what part of it's valuable and what part of it isn't. And then you have to know what part of the calm is you have to know the extreme of the calm, because you have to take away what part's valuable and what part isn't. If I am in this state of, calm's not a good word because calm is good. If I'm in a state of laissez-faire, lackadaisical feeling, that's not good, because then you have no intent. And it's like, oh, a week passed and I got one painting done. Cool, I'm fine with that. I just went with it. No, nothing gets done that way. And so that's when you have to, in my opinion, lean into the discipline a little bit. My cat is staring at this game. It's really funny. I don't think he identifies that they are fish, but the motion is like capturing his cat senses. Sorry, dog. I do have a cat. I'm petting the dog in the game. Anyway. And so I guess my opinion within just a week went from I've got this war on fate, where this thing about the homework, the fact that it's just a homework, it makes it feel impossible. And that's just because it makes it homework. When you have to think about all the things you have to do, it just makes them things you have to do. It doesn't make them things you want to do anymore. Just by definition, it changes your incentive for doing it. And I'm in a position where I don't have to do these things. I have a job. I have a roof over my head. I'm able to provide food for myself. Like so there's no reason, in theory, we'll put it this way. There's no base level need for me to do these things. I'm not doing this for career, I'm doing this to tell my story. And I guess I'm sort of getting closer to why I'm doing this, but having to do something utterly and completely doesn't work for me. It worked in college because, yeah, I mean, that was the entire world. I believed in that system 110%. And so I guess let me just kind of switching over my notes here. Apologies if you hear the click. But walking the middle way is an idea I've known of for a while, and it's become way more prevalent in my head in the last, I would say, 2 months or so. And in part, it was because it was like I need to be able to balance emotional, not outbursts, because I'm not having like anger reactions, but I need to balance times when I'm very emotionally motivated and times when I have zero motivation at all. Because if I do work in bursts of emotion, sure, I can maybe get a lot done, but then it's not consistent. Whereas this morning hour of game dev is incredibly consistent because it's right in the middle. I'm making sure that I don't let the waves carry me all the way out to sea and then strain me. I'm going out into sea and I'm coming back and I'm hovering, I'm treading water. That's a visual metaphor I have in my head, so I'm not going to go too far into it because that's difficult to explain. But we have this idea that, okay, so there's these two extremes of being very stressed to do homework and being very laissez-faire that it doesn't matter. Neither are good because the existence of balance contradicts both of these extremes. This has to get done. Well, no, it doesn't. And laissez-faire, this doesn't matter. Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't have to get done because, nothing necessarily depends on this. It's a purely abstract idea. And nothing matters. Well, that's not true either because you've wanted to do this for years and you need to tell your story some way, somehow, and this will hopefully help build momentum and mileage in terms of drawing, finally. It's just occurred to me that this game might... Oh, no, it is. We're good. I just misnoticed OBS. And there's a lot of these balances. And I think, quite frankly, there's an infinite amount. Maybe you can think of it as yin and yang, but I feel like yin and yang is more of a alternate back and forth, whereas the middle way is like you, not to quote an anime again, Hell's Paradise, but like you have to be strong to be weak and weak to be strong. You have to walk forward courageously while also being scared. I think that's what courage is to go forward despite fear. Anyway, some of these that have come up this week are a balance between patience and frustration. I think when I am very stressed, I get very frustrated with myself, and it leads to... Man, these fish are just not having it. I'm going to try and change. Frustration is good to dig into because it can be the emotional motive that you need to jumpstart yourself. I am frustrated with where I am and who I am and discontent with who I am. Therefore, let the frustration kickstart, right? Let it be the ripcord for the engine or something or another. But also, when you sit down and do the work, no. Ugh, these symbols are not, for some reason, my brain's not pressing. Am I in? Well, that's awkward. I've been using the wrong... You fool. When you sit down and start doing the work, you need to be patient with yourself. Frustration can get you in the chair, but patience will carry you through, right? You need both. You can't have patience when you haven't started yet, I think. I mean, you can, but if you're like, I'll be patient, I'll start my homework when I start it. I'll start drawing when I start it. It's fine. I don't think that's productive. If you want to do something, you need to kickstart. And again, this is me. I'm just really speaking about myself. And frustration in the middle of the process won't help you because, especially in drawing, you can't just abandon... Like you can't just abandon yourself in the middle of a drawing. It's not going to look good. There is an ugly face. It's not going to look, you can't just barf something onto the page. Another one, and I've had this realization for a little while now, but despair and hope. In my opinion, happy sad is, how do we say? Oversimplifying it. I guess if I've changed the rod to be better and they were biting on this, then I should be okay. Happy, sad oversimplifies it. But if we look at hope and despair, well, now we're talking. I believe there's a case to be argued that one does not need despair. But I believe if someone argues that despair is unnecessary, then hope is also unnecessary. So for the sake of my own little argument here, if we presume that despair is necessary, we presume hope is necessary. But if for some reason you believe that despair is not a necessary quality of life, then hope is also not a necessary quality of life. A visual way to put this would be that if despair is being at the bottom of a well, hope is looking up at the top of it. You can't have one without the other. Now, I say happy, sad is oversimplifying it because I think despair is a much more potent feeling. And when you look at hope as the opposite of that, it also becomes far more potent. Despair is nothing is going to continue. There is no way out. And hope is objectively, there might be no way out, but there is. Well, maybe not objectively. I don't know if hope can be objective. And I think that in this case, when you exist in both extremes, you get to see the world so differently. I mean, there have been times when I have been deep in pits of despair, and I think it's given certain things a far more value. And when I'm hopeful, you start to see what's possible. So in some sense, despair has shown me what I have, and hope shows me what I can have. And obviously that's dangerous, because when you realize you don't have what you could have, well, we end up back in despair. And that becomes a yin-yang cycle. But if we can walk the middle way of hope and despair, for me, I think this... I don't know why I said that so weird. Like, I've got no artistic talent, but I do believe that hard work can build up that idea. It can build up skill. And if I am able to understand that potential that I maybe have, excuse me. As he looks at the fishing rods and stuff. Sure, let's try this. I can't even use it. Oh, what is this? Big crankbait. If I am able to both see potential that I have, but also understand where I'm coming from and hold on to both of those and thus let go of each of them, I guess I can, left foot is despair, right foot is hope. And that's a much more of a yin-yang idea. But I do like it. Can't lie. I don't think I switched the lure. And I don't think, I guess I don't want to say by definition because something's being defined here, but in the way I speak of it, there's no term for the middle. There actually is, but I'll get to that in a minute. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's heavy or something. Yeah, I guess that kind of covers hope and despair in the sense of like seeing what you have and also what you don't, and just trying to walk in between that. So the other one on my list here is free will versus determinism. I think about fate constantly. I don't really know where to start with this one, but I think and I think I've recorded it back when I was calling this video game therapy, but I think that free will is best exemplified by the mistakes we make. If everything was determined, I don't think mistakes would be made. I don't, and the reason why I don't love seeing the world as being determined is because while our behaviors might be fixed to some extent, it just doesn't give us any control over an outcome, and I just hate that way of thinking. It leaves me completely powerless. So if we can juggle what we can control and what we can't, if we can accept both of those things at the same time, if we can accept that, it's not determined to become an artist and write a story that is a bestseller. That's not determined. But it could be on a path that I haven't walked yet. In other words, right now I'm walking a path where fate is says, okay, you're a software engineer, and some event will happen when I'm 45. I don't know. And that's the path I'm on. But if I, through mistakes or my own free will, choose to truly stay disciplined about doing art homework, maybe the career changes. Maybe a lucky opportunity comes up that I have thus prepared for. And boom, you switch the road. You switch tracks. And so in this sense, you're freely switching what fate has in store for you. And that to me is like the epitome of this middle way, because I'm both accepting that there are fixed outcomes at the end, but I'm getting to choose which one I get to. And in some way this brings me comfort, because it's kind of like, it challenges the idea of what's the point. Because with thinking about free will and nihilism, you get the sense of like, well, why bother doing anything? If there's no point to anything, why bother doing it? I'll kind of leave that one there, because I could go off about that one for a while. The second to last one I have on my list here is play and discipline. So this one kind of comes more clearly back to art, but it's important to both play, have fun, draw what you want, which I'm still struggling with, but it's coming clear, and discipline, taking classes and explicitly becoming better. I feel like that one's pretty clear. But the thing is, you can walk. I think for this one, you can be disciplined in play and have play and discipline. So, I could be disciplined in doing my homework, but I can make sure I'm drawing interesting subjects. I can say I'm going to just have an hour of game development every morning, but that itself is discipline. And it's the discipline to play, if you will. And so I think that's a good example of just walking the middle way, where within each moment of art, it's not play or discipline. I am pulling from both ends of the extreme because I have been in both ends of the extreme. I almost kind of forgot the thesis of this video, but I can only exist between play and discipline. My hour of game development can only be a little bit fun, but also making sure I'm sitting down first thing in the morning every morning, because I have walked the middle path of being extremely disciplined while also having fun. Trophy weight catch. Let's go. That fish was fighting me too. And so we come to my final point, which I came to almost exactly 6 hours ago based on the comment time on this Todoist task, is, do we need to... It just sounds so loony, but do we need to experience the future and the past in order to fully enjoy the present? So just really bringing this whole Buddhism thing home. If you want to live in the present, then if we say that the middle way is the extension of two extremes, let me start this over. When we say that there are two extremes, this supposes that there is something in the middle by nature. There is no exact midpoint. There is a perfect balance, but I don't know if it's achievable. So you just have to blend them. You can really only ever have 51-49 kind of thing, based on the thesis of this thing. So if we say that, well, walking the middle way is the best way to be, or is being present, then I think that this label for a midpoint presupposes, or can only exist if we also assume that there is the existence of something on either end of it, right? So if I'm playing and being disciplined in game development and trying to be present in all of it, and making sure I'm, being present in my art classes, well, that also presumes that I've experienced a past and a future around it. And if you ever watch the movie Arrival, it talks about the nonlinearity of time. But I guess, excuse me, what I have been doing a lot lately is imagining these future selves and these future worlds that I'm in and what my position is in. I'm taking the week off of work this week, and the question I'm just effectively asking myself is, how do I want to spend my time? Because if I tell myself I need to do all my art homework, or do X amount of game development, I procrastinate. Even with work, sometimes I'm like, oh, I need to do X, Y, and Z, and I just procrastinate a little bit. Take longer at lunch or whatever it might be. And it's knowledge work, so that procrastination is doable. In other words, you can work at night. And it's remote, so I take the work home with me. But in some way, it's giving me a deeper appreciation for the present. And, in an unfortunate sense, all of the, not all of the actually, not any of them except the first one, or second one, despair and hope implies there's a bad and a good. Patience and frustration maybe also do that actually. But the other ones, free will and determinism, play, discipline. I have others, selflessness. We have, I guess, apathy and emotion. They imply a good and a bad, some of them don't. Lover and a teacher. Explaining that one is a bit of a longer story, so I'll avoid it. But I guess it implies that, okay, so which one is bad, past or the future? And I think the past is the darker one and the future is the brighter one, because the future is what you can still change. And the past is already fixed. Now the thing is, so when you experience the future, for example, you're just experiencing a projection. Ceci n'est pas un pipe, or whatever. But the past has already been experienced, but you can't. But if you try to re-experience it with memories, it's the same as visualizing a future. So if you just imagine a future, I guess for the sake of my argument, it's the same as remembering something. But assuming you're a sane human being, you are able to draw a line between what is real and what is not. I hung out with this friend yesterday. Happened. I am going to hang out with this friend tomorrow. Has not happened. Maybe it's planned, but it's not fixed. We don't know for certain. But at the present moment, I'm playing this game. Kind of both things are true, if you think about it. I'm both playing this game, but also I'm recording a video. Again, both can be true. But I'm playing this game now because I have been playing this game. And I'm playing this game now because I will have been done playing this game. If you're not a native English speaker, I apologize for that last part. In other words, if you are running, then that presupposes you have started running. And we know this. You cannot be running if you haven't started running. You cannot be drawing if you haven't started drawing. But also, just like how fish in water don't know they're in water, the present moment I'm playing this game assumes I will at some point stop playing the game. Because otherwise I'm just constantly, and that's life, and I'm constantly playing the game, and there's no appreciation there. So I'm kind of coming to this realization on my own. I'm sorry if it sounds too whack. It's making sense to me. The past is that I opened this game And the future is that I've closed this game. 2 extremes. And here I sit in the present moment in the middle way of playing the game. And that's freaking life, dude. we are born, we play the game, and then we die. And that's the present moment, baby. We're walking the middle way. Anyway, it's been a midday. I've definitely been lacking discipline, but I haven't really had any play. And I've had none of those things, so I haven't even existed on that spectrum. And that's definitely not the way to go, I assure you. So, yeah, maybe I'll try to whip this up. Hit me up with any questions, comments, concerns you have in the comments. I'd love to hear thoughts on this for those listening. My Proton mail is in the description if you want to email me a question. Hear my insane thoughts on it. But yeah, when you're in one extreme, don't forget to find what, for you, is the other extreme. I'll just end on that note. Is like, this is personal stuff. My hope and despair might not apply to you. It applies to my worldview, but it might not apply to you. So find your own balances. And when you're in one extreme, swing to the other one. See what happens, and then land in the middle. This does not apply to drugs. Don't do drugs. That just don't. All right, thanks for watching and or listening. I've been your host, or player 11, Mark Mobkins78. Am I even Mobkins at this point? I don't know. Have a good one. As always, don't forget to stay awesome. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.